Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the English Learning Tips podcast, brought to you by Explore English Online. I'm Smith, your host, and I'm here today with our brilliant co-host, Sarah. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Smith. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to dive into today's topic. We've got some fantastic tips lined up for you to help make English feel natural and comfortable. Whether you're just starting out or looking to take your English to the next level, we think you'll find something valuable here today.
Absolutely. Today's episode is all about fluency, one of the biggest goals for English learners everywhere. We're going to walk you through some quick practical tips for speaking English more fluently. If you've ever felt like words get stuck in your head, or that it's hard to keep the conversation going, this episode is for you.
And don't worry. We know the journey to fluency can feel challenging, but it's definitely achievable. Remember, fluency is more than just speaking quickly. It's about speaking comfortably and confidently. That's what we're here to help with.
Exactly, Sarah. So, whether you're listening to us on your morning walk, during your commute, or while taking a break, we encourage you to take some notes, reflect on the tips, and most importantly, have fun with it.
And make sure you stick around until the end. We've saved a special bonus tip that we think could make a big difference for you.
Yes, don't miss that. Before we dive in, we'd like to remind you to subscribe to the podcast and follow Explore English Online on social media for more resources and tips. We're here to support you on your English journey every step of the way.
All right, let's get into it, shall we? Here are our quick tips for achieving fluent English.
All right, let's kick things off with something that's absolutely essential for fluency, and that's your mindset. We can't stress enough how much your attitude and approach toward learning English can impact your progress.
That's right. And mindset is often overlooked. People usually jump straight into vocabulary or grammar, but having the right mindset can actually make learning easier and more enjoyable. So let's talk about how having a growth mindset can help.
Exactly. A growth mindset is all about believing that you can improve with effort and time. It's about being open to making mistakes and seeing them as opportunities to learn, rather than something to fear. So if you find yourself feeling self-conscious or afraid of messing up, try to reframe that. Mistakes are a natural part of learning. They're how you grow.
Totally. I think that's one of the biggest hurdles for learners. They worry about saying the wrong thing or sounding silly. But remember, every successful English speaker started where you are now. Even native speakers make mistakes sometimes. The goal is to communicate, not to be perfect.
Well said, Sarah. And here's a good way to start shifting your mindset. Celebrate small wins. Every time you try something new in English, maybe using a new word or starting a conversation, give yourself credit. Those small wins add up and build confidence.
Absolutely. I often suggest that learners keep a success journal. Write down each time you feel proud of your English, even if it's something small. Maybe you had a conversation with a colleague, or you watched a movie in English and understood more than last time. Seeing those wins written down can remind you of your progress, especially on days when you might feel discouraged.
Love that idea. It's all about making the journey rewarding. And let's talk about another part of mindset: consistency. Learning a language isn't a one-time achievement. It's a journey. So, instead of putting pressure on yourself to be fluent by a certain date, just focus on showing up consistently. A few minutes a day goes a long way.
Exactly. In fact, studies show that short, regular practice is far more effective than cramming for long hours once in a while. So even if you only have 10 minutes a day, use it. Listen to an English podcast, read an article, or even just practice thinking in English. Small, regular steps make a huge difference.
Yes, and don't forget, enjoying the process is key. Try to make English a part of your life in ways that feel fun and natural. Listen to music you enjoy, watch shows that interest you, or join communities where you can practice. If you enjoy the journey, you're more likely to stay consistent.
And one more thing, give yourself permission to take breaks. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. It's okay to have days where you don't feel as motivated or don't practice as much. What's important is that you don't give up entirely.
Well said, Sarah. So, to sum it up, approach English with a growth mindset. Celebrate your progress, and remember that consistency is more valuable than perfection. Enjoy the journey, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Let's keep that positive mindset going as we move into our next section, where we'll talk about how to practice effectively every day.
Now that we've talked about mindset, let's dive into the practical side of things. Regular practice. This is where the magic happens. Practicing a little each day is one of the best ways to build fluency.
Exactly. A lot of people think they need to study for hours at a time to improve, but really, even a few minutes every day can make a big difference. It's all about building a habit. So think about ways you can add English to your daily routine.
One easy way is to use the 5-minute rule. Just spend 5 minutes practicing English, whether it's reading an article, listening to a short podcast, or even just thinking in English. You'd be surprised how quickly those 5 minutes can turn into 10 or 15 once you get into it.
I love that. And if you're already using English a bit each day, try to add in more real-life exposure. You could switch the language settings on your phone to English or follow social media accounts that post in English. This helps you get comfortable with the language naturally.
Absolutely. Another great way to practice regularly is to use English when you're doing everyday tasks. For example, if you're cooking, try reading the recipe in English or describing the steps in your head. Or, if you're walking somewhere, think about what you see and describe it in English.
And don't forget about using entertainment to your advantage. Watching movies or TV shows with subtitles in English is a fantastic way to pick up natural expressions and vocabulary. Just try to actively listen and pay attention to how phrases are used.
Right. And if you're up for a challenge, try turning off the subtitles once in a while. It's a great way to train your ear to understand English on its own. Or, if you're listening to a song, look up the lyrics and try to sing along. Music is a great memory aid.
Good point. And if you can, make it social. Practicing with others, even online, can be so much fun and keeps you motivated. There are lots of language exchange groups or even apps that let you connect with native speakers.
Definitely. So, to wrap up this section, remember, it's better to practice a little every day than to practice a lot just once a week. The goal is to make English a part of your daily life in ways that feel natural and fun. Consistency is key.
Yes, small steps really do add up. All right, ready for the next section? Let's talk about building your vocabulary.
All right, let's talk vocabulary. One of the key parts of becoming fluent in any language is expanding your vocabulary. The more words and phrases you know, the easier it becomes to express yourself clearly and confidently.
Yes, but it's not just about memorizing long lists of words, right? A lot of learners think they have to know every word in the dictionary to be fluent, but that's not true. It's actually more effective to focus on words and phrases you'll use in real-life situations.
Exactly, Sarah. Learning words in context helps you remember them better and makes it easier to use them naturally. For instance, instead of learning happy, excited, and joyful as separate words, try learning them in sentences or phrases like, "I'm excited to see you," or "That makes me so happy." This way, you're not just learning words, you're learning how they fit together.
Great tip! And another thing to consider is learning phrases instead of isolated words. Phrases like, "How's it going?" or "Could you give me a hand?" are commonly used in English and can help you sound more fluent. Plus, they make conversations flow more smoothly since you don't have to stop and think about each individual word.
That's right. And idioms are another great tool. I know they can be tricky, but learning a few common ones can make your speech sound more natural. For example, expressions like break the ice, hit the books, or under the weather are phrases you'll hear a lot in casual conversation.
Yes, idioms definitely add some color to your English. And here's a practical tip for expanding your vocabulary. Use flashcards. Apps like Anki or Quizlet make it easy to create digital flashcards with new words and phrases. Review them a few minutes each day, and you'll start remembering vocabulary faster.
And if you're more of a hands-on learner, try keeping a physical vocabulary notebook. Write down new words you come across, especially if you encounter them in books, podcasts, or conversations. Then go back and review them regularly. Writing things down by hand can help with memory, too.
Definitely. Another great habit is reading regularly in English. It could be anything: news articles, short stories, or even captions on social media. As you read, underline or highlight words that are new to you, and then look them up and practice using them. The more exposure you get, the more those words will stick.
Yes, and if you're watching TV shows or movies in English, pay close attention to how people use certain phrases. Try pausing to repeat phrases out loud or writing down interesting expressions. You'll get a feel for how words are used in different situations.
And let's not forget that vocabulary is also about choosing words that match the situation. For example, you might use different language in a formal meeting than you would with friends. Learning some basic formal and informal vocabulary can help you adapt more easily to different settings.
Good point, Sarah. And here's one last tip for vocabulary building. Try using the words you're learning in your own sentences. When you learn a new word, create a few sentences with it, or find a language partner and use the word in conversation. The more you use it, the more natural it becomes.
Exactly. So, to sum up, focus on learning vocabulary and context, using phrases instead of single words, and practicing regularly through reading, flashcards, or conversation. The more you immerse yourself in English, the faster your vocabulary will grow.
Well said, Sarah. Expanding your vocabulary doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's all about taking small, consistent steps. Ready for our next section? Let's dive into engaging in conversations to build fluency. Now, let's talk about one of the most important ways to build fluency: engaging in conversations. Speaking with others is really the best way to put everything you've learned into practice and start thinking in English naturally.
Yes, and I know starting a conversation in English can feel a bit intimidating, especially if you're worried about making mistakes. But remember, every conversation is a chance to practice and improve. Think of it as a learning opportunity rather than a test.
Absolutely. And here's a tip. Start with small talk. Casual, everyday conversations are great practice and don't require advanced vocabulary. You can practice talking about the weather, your weekend plans, or something you saw on TV. These small exchanges help you build confidence.
Good idea, Smith. And if you're not sure where to start, try using simple questions like, "How was your day?" or "What do you think about?" People enjoy talking about themselves, so asking open-ended questions can keep the conversation going and takes the pressure off you.
Definitely. And if you're looking to get more practice, consider joining a language exchange program or finding a conversation partner online. There are tons of platforms where you can connect with people who want to practice English, and many are free.
That's a fantastic option. And remember, you don't need to be perfect. Focus on communicating your ideas rather than finding the perfect words. Sometimes the person you're speaking with will help you if they see you're trying, and it makes conversations feel more natural.
Good point. And here's a fun tip. If you're feeling a bit shy, start by talking to yourself in English. Describe what you're doing, your thoughts, or even narrate your day as if you're explaining it to a friend. It might sound silly, but it's great practice for thinking in English.
I love that idea. Another way to get comfortable is to record yourself speaking. Choose a topic, talk for a minute or two, and then listen back. This lets you notice any areas for improvement and see your progress over time. It's like having a mini conversation with yourself.
Perfect. So, to wrap up this section, try to engage in small conversations as often as you can. Ask open-ended questions, and don't worry about being perfect. The more you practice, the easier conversations will feel.
Yes, every conversation counts. All right, ready to move on? Let's get into our next section on thinking in English.
All right, let's dive into a powerful habit for boosting fluency: thinking in English. This one can really speed up your progress because it helps you stop translating from your native language, which makes speaking feel more natural.
Exactly, Smith. When you think in English, it's like training your brain to handle the language without that extra step of translation. And when you're in a conversation, it means your responses come quicker because you're already in the English mode.
Right. And the good news is, you can start practicing this anywhere, anytime. For example, if you're walking outside, try naming things you see in English, like tree, car, or sunshine. Then move on to forming simple sentences, like the sun is shining, or there's a car parked by the tree.
That's a great way to start. Another technique is to use English when you're planning your day. Think things like, I need to go to the grocery store, or I'll make a cup of coffee first. These everyday thoughts are perfect for practicing because they're simple and repetitive.
Yes, it's about building comfort with the language in small steps. If you're cooking, try thinking through the steps in English. First, I need to chop the onions. Next, I'll add the spices. It's almost like giving yourself instructions in English, which keeps you in practice even if you're alone.
Good idea! And for more advanced practice, try journaling in English. It doesn't have to be long, just a few sentences about your day or how you're feeling. This helps you practice describing things in your own words, which is great for expressing yourself more naturally.
Yes, journaling is so effective. And here's another idea. Try visualizing scenarios in English. For example, imagine you're at a restaurant ordering food. Think about how you'd greet the server, what you'd say to order, and how you'd thank them afterward. Visualizing conversations like this helps you feel more prepared for real-life situations.
That's a fantastic tip. It's like rehearsing for future conversations. And if you're really up for a challenge, try thinking about your opinions on different topics in English. Imagine you're explaining your favorite movie or why you like a certain hobby. The goal is to express your thoughts in English, even complex ones.
And remember, you don't need to think in perfect English. It's okay if your sentences aren't perfectly formed. The point is to get comfortable with the language. Over time, you'll notice it becomes easier to think in English without having to translate.
Exactly. So, to sum up, start small by naming objects around you, then move to simple sentences and build up to journaling or visualizing conversations. Thinking in English can feel strange at first, but it's a powerful way to build fluency.
Well said, Sarah. All right, in our final section, we'll talk about overcoming some common challenges English learners face on the road to fluency. All right, let's wrap up with some advice on overcoming common challenges that learners face on the path to fluency. We know that learning a language has its ups and downs, and everyone encounters obstacles.
Definitely, Smith. One big challenge is confidence. Many learners feel nervous or self-conscious about speaking English, especially around native speakers. But remember, it's okay to make mistakes. In fact, mistakes are a huge part of learning.
Absolutely. A helpful way to build confidence is to practice in low-pressure settings. Start by speaking English with friends or other learners who understand the process you're going through. Practicing in a supportive environment can make a big difference.
Yes, and another challenge is staying motivated, especially when progress feels slow. It's easy to get discouraged, but remember, every bit of practice adds up. Keep track of your small wins, like understanding a new phrase or having a short conversation, and celebrate those moments.
That's such a good point. Motivation can really fluctuate, so finding ways to keep it up is essential. Another tip is to set realistic goals. Instead of aiming for perfect fluency, aim to improve a little each week. Small, manageable goals can keep you motivated without feeling overwhelmed.
Exactly. And here's another common issue: hitting a plateau. It's natural to feel like you're not improving as quickly after a certain point, but that doesn't mean you're not progressing. Try switching up your routine, like exploring new topics, listening to different accents, or joining a new language group. changing things up can help you break out of that rut.
And don't forget to be patient with yourself. Language learning is a long journey, and it's normal to have ups and downs. Remember why you started learning English in the first place, and let that purpose guide you when you're feeling stuck.
So true, Smith. And to all our listeners, challenges are a natural part of learning. You're building a skill, and every step counts. Be kind to yourself, keep practicing, and remember that every effort you make brings you closer to your goal.
Well said, Sarah. So, to summarize, embrace mistakes, set small goals, switch things up when you're feeling stuck, and always keep sight of your why. You've got this.
Absolutely. All right, everyone, that brings us to the end of today's episode. We hope these tips help you overcome any challenges on your journey to English fluency.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe for more tips and resources from Explore English Online. Until next time, keep practicing and stay confident. Wow, that was a fantastic session. We've covered so much today, and hopefully our listeners are feeling inspired and ready to tackle their English fluency journey with confidence.
Yes, absolutely. Let's do a quick recap of everything we talked about today, so our listeners can take these tips with them and start applying them right away.
All right, here's a quick rundown. First, we talked about the importance of having the right mindset for learning. Remember, a growth mindset and the willingness to make mistakes are essential. Embrace your learning journey, celebrate your small wins, and stay consistent.
Right. Then we moved into the importance of regular practice. Even a few minutes every day can make a big difference, so try to make English a part of your daily life. Whether it's reading, listening, or speaking, a little bit each day goes a long way.
Yes, and in Section 3, we focused on expanding your vocabulary. Remember to learn words in context, focus on useful phrases, and practice them often. You don't need to know every word. Start with vocabulary that's relevant to your life and build from there.
Exactly. Next, we talked about the power of engaging in conversations. Speaking regularly, even if it's just small talk, builds confidence and makes English feel more natural. Find a language partner, join an exchange, or even talk to yourself to get comfortable.
Then, in Section 5, we covered thinking in English. Practicing thinking in English is a great way to avoid translating and start processing the language naturally. Start small by naming things around you and work your way up to more complex thoughts and scenarios.
And finally, we shared tips for overcoming common challenges like lack of confidence, motivation, and hitting a plateau. Remember, it's normal to face obstacles. The key is to stay patient, set small goals, and keep experimenting with new ways to learn.
Exactly, Sarah. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint, so keep going at your own pace. And most importantly, enjoy the journey. Learning a new language opens up so many possibilities, from meeting new people to discovering different cultures.
Well said, Smith. And now, for everyone listening, we have a few action steps to help you start implementing these tips right away.
First, if you're new to the podcast, make sure to subscribe to Explore English Online so you don't miss any future episodes. We have lots of episodes filled with practical tips, exercises, and insights to help you on your English learning journey.
Yes, and feel free to share this episode with friends or anyone else who's learning English. Sometimes learning together or discussing these tips with others can make a big difference. It's all about building a supportive community.
And if you found any specific tip particularly helpful, try putting it into action today. For example, if you're working on expanding vocabulary, start a vocabulary notebook or download a flashcard app. If you want to think in English, take a few minutes to practice describing your day to yourself in English.
Exactly. And don't forget, we love hearing from you. If you have any questions, topics you'd like us to cover, or stories about your English learning progress, reach out to us in the comments or send us a message on social media. We're here to support you.
Yes, connect with us. And if you're listening on a platform that allows ratings or reviews, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave us some feedback. It helps us keep improving and lets us know what you enjoy about the show.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, every small step you take brings you closer to fluency. Keep practicing, keep challenging yourself, and above all, keep enjoying the process.
Couldn't agree more, Sarah. So, until next time, keep learning and stay confident. You're doing great.
See you in the next episode. And remember, you've got this.